It's about life and all the things we go through in it. Opinions are like assholes. Why dig in them? Keep it simple. Just wipe them. Everyone has an opinion, but yours is the one that matters. This podcast is life. Here's a thought. Your opinions matter only to you. Or do they? And if you need help answering that, my podcast is here to give you perspective and objective truth so you can decide. Hey, it's your girl, Lady Listener, live here and in the flesh with happiness, health, and no stress. It's that time. You ready? Life Convo starts now. So today I'm coming to you guys because I want to talk about the feminist movement. And I remember learning about this in school, and it was a little unbeknown to me as, like diving in deep. I remember them talking to us and, just letting us know like a little bit of here, a little bit of there, about just feminists, and the things that they did, showing your femininity, things of that nature. So I don't usually use Wikipedia, but I did go to Wikipedia and find this information on the feminist movement. And it basically just lets you know that it was also called the women's movement, or feminism. And it refers to a series of social movements, political campaigns that women basically, pushed against, such as, men and women not having equality. And so I'm not reading this verbatim. You're welcome to just put in the feminist movement and look it up. But I wanted to touch on some of the things that it talked about, such as the movement's priorities, and that, it started in the 1800s and thus, it expanded. I mainly remember them speaking about, like I said, the 1960s and things that were going on here in the western part of the world. As you know, in other cultures, the women are not as outspoken and things of that nature, just because of, how they're viewed, things of that nature. So one of the things I definitely wanted to pull some information from, it says feminism in parts of Western world has been an ongoing movement since the turn of the century. And they talk about like the first wave of feminism, and, mainly middle, upper class white women who, excuse me, kind of push themselves to the forefront to get involved with like suffrage and different political inequality and things of that nature. Now, some people may know and some people may not know that, there were also sisters. There were black women who had their own movement going on during the time. And, that talks here in the second wave of feminism. And it talks about just how, women of all these different social classes and colors just kind of came together. But in the beginning, it was more of white women, and they kind of had like the black women pushed to the back type deal. Like, no, let us get this off, and then you can, do your little movement. And then eventually, it came to where it was like, this ain't working. Let's come together. So that takes me to my next article. And this I am going to read. And this just gives you the definition of feminism. And it means that regardless of gender identification, people should be treated equally. There is nothing feminist about, they're speaking about policing the sexual choices of consenting adults of any gender. And that feminists have fought and continue to fight for body autonomy and access to birth control, medically accurate information, and safe and legal abortions. These crucial rights protect the choice of whether and when to become a parent, and also the ability to choose whether when, with whom, and why to have sex. And this article is an article I found on decriminalizesex.org. And all of these websites I will have down in the description. Yet mainly I want to focus on the women's movement because, that's a whole lot to kind of unravel. But it does give you, I feel this article does give you a great information in reference to, what feminists fought for. And that's gonna, like I said, that was the main reason I showed this article. And like I said, I remember the pictures in the social studies books, and these were the pictures that I remember. And it was just, women, basically telling the government to shove it and letting their husbands know, I'm a person and I'm just not property. And so this article is the 1960s feminist movement. And like I said, all of this information will be in the description of this video. However, I will read from this article. While the 1960s was the period of hippies and peace, it was also the time when women were fighting for their rights. In the 1960s, many women did not work. They were stay-at-home moms who cooked and cleaned and watched the children. The 60s was a time when many women were having children. They had no freedom and no lives. They really had times to themselves or to have a normal social life. And so during this time, a lot of women, they kind of felt like they were bombarded with duties of that which I felt they signed up for, cleaning their home, taking care of their children, tending to their man. I'm not a feminist by any means. I'm just me and a woman. Yet I felt, during this time, and even especially when I was in high school, I'm just a logical person. Like, you signed up for this, so why are you complaining? Yet I understood, as I got older, what it actually meant. And it wasn't that they didn't want to do these things. It was just more like they wanted to expand on not only being able to do those things, because they were just kind of stuck in a place to where this was what it was. You were a stay-at-home mom who cooked and cleaned and watched your children, and you tended to your husband. You were not, supposed to have a normal social life. You were not supposed to gossip with your gal pals and go have day drink dates or evening out with your girls. It was none of that. It was you represent your husband, you stay your butt at home, and your role is in the house and my role is out doing whatever I want to do. And so, like I said, as I got older, I understood it. But when this was first introduced to me, when I was in high school, I'm like, well, you met a man, you decided to lay down, have children, and now you're complaining because you have to take care of those children. Or you married a man and he let you know, I make the money, you stay home. This was just the times that they were in. And so they watched their dads, if their dads were in the home, their neighbors, their friends' dads, they watched how this was what it was, and it was a cycle. So it wasn't like I dipped my toe in, ooh, I didn't know the water was cold. It was, I dipped my toe in, I know the water's cold, this is what I'm getting. So that was, like I said, my mindset. And, I can't say it enough. As I got older and learned more on my own, I realized this was kind of messed up, because it was like they were fighting to, I guess you can say they were fighting against the hierarchy because they were women. It was like, oh, because you have a uterus, you're not going to be able to do this. We don't want you here. You're not good enough. They were only seen one way. It's kind of like when actors speak of, playing a role or a character in a movie or on a television show, and then they go out to get other jobs, and they only see them as that one character because they did that character so well. And it's like, nope, you can't do anything else. You're that one character from that one movie or that one TV show or whatnot. And that was what I understood women to be feeling like. And so, women knew that they deserved more and they deserved better, and they went after it. And in my opinion, I do not see anything wrong with that. Women, by all means, should have more. And they shouldn't have been silenced, in my opinion, to not have that. And I apologize. It looks like I'm having some technical difficulties, but I'm going to get you guys back on track. So we're going to move into the next article. And this one is speaking of the goals of the feminist movement. Now, one of the one of the things I remember was the bra burning, which happened in the 1960s. And that was just very, it was like an eye opener to me. That's what I equate this movement with. I know it was, way more, but yet that's what I equate it with, just because I remember how radical it was. And I thought that was just badass. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. But that was, my mind at that time. And I don't know why I'm having all of these issues, guys. I do apologize. Just trying to make sure that I get back to where I was. And like I said, I do apologize for all of these hiccups that we are having. So let me go back to that particular website and pull up that information, if it's gonna allow me. So like I said, I remember the bra burning, and that was very, very powerful. It stuck with me. It was something that I'm not gonna say it wasn't something I was expecting, but it was more like, ooh, this is what we learning about. And I loved it, and I'm actually going to the bra burning of 1960. And I'm blanking a little bit, because I remember talking to an older woman about this during the time that she was, this situation. And I learned, as I'm showing you guys in this article, a lot of women said the phrase, and because it was well known and they were a part, they be like they're a part of the movement, but a lot of them didn't really burn their bras. It was just a symbol to say, yeah, I was a part of the bra burning due to this, that, and the third. But a lot of them, like I said, they didn't burn their bras, and they supported the women that did, and made it very public that they did, because they wanted to show that they were taking a stance and that they were fighting for something. And one of the other things that women did to show that they were a part of this movement, the women that didn't burn their bras often walked around wearing no bra at all. And it was to show their independence of men. And if you don't know, a man did create the bra. You can look it up. And so it was like they were really not down with holding women back. And so a lot of the things to make their feminine side show, they just went up with it, such as girdles, curlers, tweezers, wearing high heels. They just were not with any of it. And it was like, you know what? I'm not getting any support or, what have you. So I'm just going to let it all hang out, and it's going to be what it is. And so, that was just one of the ways that women were like, they weren't with it. And they weren't going to, accept a lot of the things that men were saying that they had to. And like I said, I don't know why I'm having all of these technical difficulties, but just continue to bear with me, because I definitely wanted to get you guys this information. Let's see if we can Hone it in. Okay. So I definitely want to go back to the bra burning in the 60s. And you can locate this article on Google. And I wanted to bring attention to another issue in the 60s, which we are dealing with right now, which was abortions. And, abortions, they had a significant effect in the 1960s because women wanted to have abortions. And it became to where it was, not a legal thing to do. I'm not sure why this computer is just, guys, I'm trying to zoom in a little bit and then I'm trying to zoom out, but it's as if my computer is loading slowly. It's lagging, and I'm not sure as of why. And I know this is annoying and just not giving you what you need. So just like I said, continue to bear with me. But I was trying to, make sure that you guys could see what I was seeing. And I apologize how small it is. I'm actually trying to get more for you guys to see, but it's not really following what I needed to follow. So that's a little bit better. But like I said, that was an issue that women wanted it. And from what I can understand, women basically were against people basically telling them they couldn't do it. Some were dealing with financial issues. Some of them weren't married, and during that time your family was kind of looked at in a not nice way because you weren't married or you were young, and they would like hide their children away. And a lot of women, especially from this article, is basically saying women were having these thoughts that having a child with whatever circumstances would be life ruining. And so they just, they wanted a way to not have a child if they didn't want to. And, that's something that we're dealing with today with, the Supreme Court. And, it was, like I said, illegal back in the 1960s. And it was mainly illegal because they felt that more women would die from having an abortion than would actually live, because the procedures were not safe and they weren't safely being done, because it would be somebody that you knew, that you could go to their kitchen and kind of get this service done. And things weren't always sanitized, and tools that were used were not what we would call tools, such as clothes hangers, and other metal objects to kind of like bust the sack, things of that nature. And you can look more into that. I'm not going to go too much into it, but it was a lot that went on during this movement. Even dealing with civil rights. As you can see, this movement enacted on July 22nd, 1964, was a landmark piece of legislation in the United States that outlawed major forms of discrimination against blacks and women, including racial segregation. So it was a lot going on during this time in the 1960s. But like I said, my main point was to focus on the feminist movement, and it changed, women's lives and begin to open up a vast majority of things that they could see themselves as or see themselves a part of, such as, furthering education, being in the workforce, just to name a few. A lot of women had goals, just being able to have control over their life, like simple goals. They wanted to say, they could go out or not go out, or wear a dress, or smoke or not smoke, or things of that nature. And it was really women just wanting to say, I have a choice. When you look at it, a lot of people, even myself, I didn't understand the end goal. You hear sometimes you hear individuals say, they just wanted to modernize women and remove the traditional marriage or traditional way of doing things, and women wanted to lead versus follow. And I feel like that's misunderstood sometimes. I feel that women still would choose to follow as long as there were some concessions, such as, I'm going to follow you, I'm going to be that traditional wife and or that traditional woman within this relationship. However, allow me the opportunity to follow. Don't treat me as if I'm just a object or property and you control my every whim. And like I said, all of this information will be linked down for you in the description. These different articles, this one from Thought Code, and things that feminists are deemed or looked at as individuals who basically want women to compete with men and want them to feel like they can do whatever a man can do. And I, in my personal opinion, don't see anything wrong with that. There's a lot of things that women can do, and I feel that women can do everything that a man can do. She may not do it as well. Just as there's a lot of things that men can do that women do, those gentlemen just may not do them as well. I just don't see where we're not understanding that there's give and take in anything you do. Feminists, they encouraged women to seek education so that they would have something to fall back on in case their marriage didn't work out, or whatever a situation was happening within their family. I mean, let's go back, guys, to the early 20th century. As this talks about education. Many women went to college and worked professionally in the early 20th century, but the mid 20th century idea of the middle class suburban housewife and the nuclear family downplayed the importance of women's education. So back then, they seen it as, oh, no, you have to tailor to your house, your children, your man. You're making things from scratch and things of that nature. You don't have time to worry about school. I'm your husband. This is what it is, and I'm going to be here for you. But a lot of women went through a lot of divorces. A lot of men during that time were leaving their stay-at-home wife for their secretaries and things like, let's just make it make sense. And so the feminists were basically saying, I know you're married or in a relationship, but if it doesn't work out, what are you and those children are going to do? Because it's always mama's baby, daddy's maybe. And some of these men, they were traditional men and did the traditional things. But then when they didn't want to be with that woman, they didn't stay traditional. They moved on. And women are kind of the ones that are penalized in a way, because they have to try to figure it out and think, if you hadn't, the skills that you had were catering to your husband, cooking meals, cleaning your house, and taking care of your children, which is, in my opinion, one of the hardest jobs in the world, and we don't get enough kudos for. So kudos to you ladies out there who do this each and every day, in and out, and who was taught by their mothers and grandmothers and great grandmothers. And kudos to those women, the ones that are still here and that are not, because that it's a difficult job, but we do it. Yet like I said, a lot of individuals found themselves where they were alone now. Their husbands were out of the picture, whether they passed away, left them for another woman, and even in some cases a man. And that was something which is a whole nother topic that people didn't look at or discuss. And these women were now questioning themselves, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to take care of these children? How are we going to stay in this house? And, so a lot of women finally was like, you know what? Yep, I'm going to school. I got to have a way to be able to support myself because, the person I was with or who I had these children with are no longer willing to support us. And so that is why I definitely wanted to bring this to the forefront to say that, women begin to expand just off of this movement, and it has brought us up to now. And there's a lot of, people on the right, people on the left, and some are for it, some of are against it. But I mean, in my opinion, it makes sense for you as a woman to not expect someone to take care of you just because they say so. I mean, there's been plenty of times growing up, there was someone in your life that said they were going to do something, they didn't do it. And even as a small child, you were disappointed. So if you can be disappointed as a small child, there's no way to think that you couldn't be disappointed as an adult. And, that is just, my thoughts on this particular topic. I hope you will definitely look more into this, get your own understanding of, the feminist movement, also called the women's movement. And let me know your thoughts. And if you are a part of this movement, things that, you remember, or even things that, like, if your mother or grandmother was a part of this movement, things that they may remember and talk to you about. And ladies, just know that we are strong, we are wise, and we can continue to go forward. So I thank you for listening, and I appreciate all of the comments that I receive because I do reply to them, and I will definitely catch you in the next one. Until the next, don't stay silent, converse with life. Thanks for listening.